What if I told you that the reason your testosterone collapsed after 60 has nothing to do with aging at all, and that the fastest way to restart your body's hormone engine isn't a pill, a shot, or a supplement, but a single ingredient you can mix with olive oil before bed tonight? Most men don't realize how quietly their strength slips away. One morning you wake up and your energy is gone. Your belly has grown. Your confidence is dimmed, and even your desire feels like it belongs to someone you used to be. You tell yourself it's normal, that this is what getting older feels like. But deep down there's a grief no one talks about. The feeling of losing the man you were. But here's the part that stops men in their tracks. Testosterone doesn't drop because of age. It drops because your body stops receiving the chemical signals it needs to make it. And the simplest, most overlooked signal of all can be activated in just 24 hours with a nighttime ritual so small most men laugh at it until they try it. In a moment, I'll show you exactly what to add to olive oil before bed so your body can begin producing testosterone the way it did decades ago. And to guide you through it, I'm Dr. William Lee, physician, scientist, and researcher with decades of experience studying how the human body heals and rebuilds itself, and a specialist in helping men over 60 reclaim their vitality naturally. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a second to do that now and tap the bell so you never miss another men's health breakthrough designed specifically for men over 60. And I'd love your feedback. Type 1 in the comments if this message speaks to you, or 0 if there's another topic you want me to tackle next. Now, let's get into what's really draining your testosterone. 1. The real reason testosterone drops after 60, and why it's not age most men don't realize it, but the moment your testosterone truly begins to collapse is not when your body turns 60. It's the moment your body stops fighting for you. And for many men, that moment arrives quietly, long before they ever notice the weight gain, the fading strength, or the emptiness they feel in the mornings. The real shock is this. Your testosterone didn't fall because your body got older. It fell because somewhere along the way, life became heavier than your biology could carry. Stress hardened into fatigue. Fatigue became habit. And habit became the slow erosion of the man you used to be. The truth hits hardest late at night when the house is quiet and you're alone with your thoughts. You remember the version of yourself who woke up strong, who moved without thinking, who felt fire in his chest and certainty in his steps. But today, your mornings feel different. Your energy is thin. Your confidence feels muted, like a voice speaking from another room. And even though you keep telling yourself that everyone slows down with age, something inside you knows that explanation feels too small, too shallow, too convenient. What most men never hear is this. Testosterone doesn't fade because birthdays pass. It fades because your body becomes overloaded by tiny, invisible forces wearing it down day after day. Inflammation builds silently in your tissues. Cortisol rises every time you don't sleep deeply enough. Your cells stop absorbing the nutrients that once fueled your drive. And without realizing it, your body begins slipping into a state of quiet survival instead of strength. It is not age that steals your power. It is chemistry slowly misfiring. That's why men who feel 50 at 70 exist. Their secret isn't luck, and it isn't genetics. Their bodies simply never lost the signals required to build testosterone. Meanwhile, other men, good men, strong men, begin losing their fire in their late 40s or early 50s. Even though they still feel young inside, their decline is not written in their DNA. It's written in the small, relentless stresses life stacked inside them. The arguments that lasted years, the nights spent worrying instead of resting, the meals eaten quickly instead of thoughtfully, the quiet disappointments that never healed. Over time, these moments become chemistry. And chemistry becomes destiny unless you intervene. And this is where the misunderstanding becomes almost tragic. Men accept their decline as natural, even inevitable, when in reality their bodies are still fully capable of producing testosterone. The machinery isn't broken. It's been neglected, starved, and pushed into the wrong rhythm. Your body remembers how to build testosterone. It remembers how to make you feel strong. It remembers the hormones of your youth. It simply needs the right fuel and the right conditions to wake that system back up. What makes this even more emotional for many men is the realization that testosterone isn't just about energy or muscle. It's about identity. It's about the quiet confidence you carry when you walk into a room. It's about the ability to wake up with purpose instead of exhaustion. It's about the connection you feel with your partner, the motivation that pulls you out of bed, the spark that makes you feel like yourself. When testosterone drops, men don't just lose strength, they lose their sense of direction. And for too long, no one has told them why. But here is the turning point. The very mechanisms that shut down testosterone can be reversed, not with injections or complicated treatments, but by resetting the chemical signals your body relies on to build hormones. This is why a simple nighttime ritual can create results in days instead of months. When you give your body the correct signal before sleep, you shift your hormonal rhythm back toward production instead of decline. Olive oil is the foundation of that reset, but it's the ingredient you add to it that triggers the transformation. And once you understand how that ingredient communicates directly with your hormone centers, you will realize that your decline was never permanent. It was never final. It was never who you were destined to become. It was simply chemistry waiting to be corrected. And now that you know the truth, you're ready for the next step. 2. Why olive oil is the perfect testosterone foundation. Most men would never believe that one of the strongest predictors of their testosterone levels isn't their age, their genetics, or even their lifestyle. It's the type of fat they consume every single day. That idea alone is enough to stun most men over 60 because they've spent their whole lives being told to fear fat, to avoid oil, to cut everything rich or creamy in the name of heart health. But here is the revelation that almost no one shares with older men. The decline you feel isn't because your body has too much fat. It's because your body has the wrong kind. And the difference between those two truths is the difference between shrinking masculinity and returning strength. When men sit across from me and tell me they no longer feel powerful, I often think about how their hormone system was built. Testosterone isn't created out of thin air. It isn't summoned from willpower or discipline. It is constructed from a very specific raw material, monounsaturated fat, the exact type found abundantly in extra virgin olive oil. This is why men in Mediterranean cultures stay vibrant deep into their 70s and 80s. Their meals aren't lighter. Their plates aren't emptier. Their bodies simply receive the building blocks that men in other parts of the world were, for decades, told to eliminate. Most men don't realize how deeply that misunderstanding cost them. For years, they swapped olive oil for processed vegetable oils, margarine, low-fat spreads, and laboratory-made substitutes. They starved their hormone system without knowing it. They kept eating, but their bodies were never truly fed. And as those artificial fats accumulated, inflammation took root, blood vessels stiffened, and the cells responsible for producing testosterone slowly dimmed. Not because those men were weak, but because the fuel they needed had been replaced by something the body couldn't use. Olive oil is different. It doesn't work against your body. it works with it. It carries within it the natural fats your endocrine system recognizes instantly, the same fats it relied on when you were 25 and overflowing with energy. And when those fats enter your bloodstream at night, they do more than nourish. They repair, they calm inflammation, they soften hardened tissues, they remind your hormone centers how to function again. They deliver the biochemical message your body forgot. It is safe to build, safe to strengthen, safe to be masculine again. But olive oil's power goes even deeper. Locked inside it are polyphenols, natural antioxidants so potent they act as internal shields. They protect the Leydig cells in the testes, the exact cells responsible for testosterone production. They restore blood flow to areas where circulation has quietly declined. They reduce oxidative stress, the same silent force that ages a man from the inside out. This is why men who make olive oil a nightly ritual often describe something emotional happening long before the physical changes begin. They feel calmer, more centered, more awake inside their own skin, as if something tight has finally loosened after years of strain. And there's something profoundly meaningful about watching older men reconnect with their strength. Not through medication, not through forcing the body, but by giving it what it has been asking for all along. Their decline was never a failure. It was simply a lack of the right foundation, a structure that crumbled because the material it needed was missing. Yet, even olive oil, powerful as it is only the beginning, because the true transformation happens when it is paired with the specific ingredient that unlocks its full hormonal potential. An ingredient that changes everything about how your body operates during sleep. 3. The nighttime advantage. Why testosterone is built while you sleep. Most men don't realize that the most dramatic drop in their testosterone doesn't happen during the day when they feel tired, sluggish, or unfocused. It happens at night, in the hours when their body should be rebuilding them, not breaking them down. And here's the part that surprises almost every man I speak with. Your testosterone isn't highest when you're awake and active. It's highest during the quietest, deepest stages of sleep. That means the very moment most older men lose control of their hormones is the moment they stop sleeping the way they once did. Not because they want to, but because aging, stress, and shifting chemistry quietly alter their nights long before they notice the consequences in their days. Think back to a time when you slept without effort, when your body rested with a heaviness that felt safe and natural. In those years, your hormone engine worked flawlessly. Every deep sleep cycle was a rebuilding phase, and you woke up with strength that felt automatic. But over time, sleep stopped being a sanctuary. It became shallow, fragmented, brief. You fell asleep wondering why you were so tired, and you woke up feeling no better than when you closed your eyes. The tragedy is that men blame themselves. They think they're weak, out of shape, or simply too old, when the truth is something far more human and far more fixable. Their nights stopped delivering the chemistry they needed to be men during the day. What makes this painful is how silent the decline is. You don't feel testosterone slipping away in the moment. You feel it in the mornings when your body doesn't respond the way it used to. You feel it in the afternoons when your energy fades without warning. You feel it in the evenings when desire loses its edge. All of it traced back to the loss of one thing: deep, restorative sleep. The kind of sleep a man over 60 rarely gets without understanding how his internal systems have shifted. Cortisol rises, melatonin falls, blood sugar spikes, inflammation climbs, circulation slows. Each of these forces chips away at the quality of rest. And once rest is compromised, testosterone production collapses. But here is the understanding that gives so many men real hope. Your body never stopped wanting to produce testosterone. It simply couldn't reach the stages of sleep where testosterone is built. Your hormonal engine wasn't broken. It was never fully turned on at night. This is where the nighttime ritual with olive oil becomes so powerful. When you introduce the right ingredient before bed, you are not just nourishing your body, you are reshaping your internal environment during the hours when testosterone is naturally supposed to surge. You stabilize insulin so your hormones stay balanced. You lower inflammation so your body slips into deeper sleep. You calm cortisol so your brain sends the correct signals. You improve circulation so testosterone can move freely through your system. In a single moment right before sleep, you shift your chemistry from survival mode to restoration mode. And men who do this don't just wake up with more energy. They wake up remembering a version of themselves they thought was gone. This understanding changes everything for older men. Because once you recognize that testosterone is built at night, not during the day, you can stop blaming your age, your limitations, or your willpower. You can begin focusing on the hours that matter most. The quiet hours when your body is finally ready to rebuild you, if you give it the chance. 4. The ingredient that frees testosterone, raw honey. Most men are stunned when they learn that one of the fastest ways to raise their testosterone isn't found in a prescription bottle, a booster supplement, or some expensive clinical treatment, but in a simple substance that has been sitting in human kitchens for thousands of years. What surprises them even more is that this ingredient doesn't just support testosterone, it frees the testosterone their body has been trying to use but hasn't been able to access for years. That ingredient is raw, unfiltered honey, not the processed syrup most men grew up with, but the real, mineral-rich honey that contains one of the most overlooked nutrients for male vitality, boron. Boron is a mineral most people never think about, yet it plays a role so significant it often leaves men speechless once they understand it. Your body has two types of testosterone: total testosterone, which includes everything your body produces, and free testosterone, the portion your muscles, your brain, your heart, and your sexual organs can actually use. Most men over 60 don't have a problem with total testosterone. The problem is that almost all of it is locked away, trapped by binding proteins in the blood, unavailable to the body that desperately needs it. You might have testosterone circulating inside you right now and still feel tired, soft, unfocused, or unmotivated, simply because your body cannot access what it already made. This is where raw honey becomes remarkable. Boron disrupts the binding that traps testosterone, increasing the amount of free, usable testosterone circulating through your bloodstream. Research has shown that boron can raise free testosterone by nearly 30% within a week. For a man over 60, that kind of shift is not just a number. It is a return of mornings that feel fuller. It is a resurgence of desire that felt forgotten. It is clarity replacing fog. It is muscle responding again. It is masculinity warming inside the body in ways that feel both familiar and unexpected. But the emotional impact goes deeper. Because when men tell me they feel alive again, they're not describing energy alone. They're describing feeling like themselves, feeling present, feeling connected, feeling grounded in their own identity. Honey does not give you something artificial. It gives you access to what has been inside you all along. Olive oil transforms how this process works at night. The healthy fats slow the absorption of honey's natural sugars, keeping insulin stable. This matters because insulin spikes actively shut testosterone production down. When insulin remains steady, your hormonal pathways stay open. And as you sleep, the boron carried by the honey begins freeing testosterone gradually, hour by hour. Every cycle of deep rest becomes a chance for your body to reclaim its hormonal rhythm. Men often describe waking with a kind of steady strength they haven't felt in decades. Not forced, not artificial. Familiar, like the return of something that was always meant to be there. 5. The ingredient that protects testosterone. Cinnamon. Most men never hear this truth, yet it affects every single one of them after 60. The greatest ongoing threat to your testosterone isn't age, low activity, or even declining hormone output. It's your blood sugar. And the shock for most men is realizing that every seemingly harmless evening snack, every small glucose spike, quietly shuts down testosterone production in real time. Not gradually, not eventually. Immediately, one rise in insulin and your hormone engine stalls. For many men, this is the silent sabotage happening night after night, without them ever understanding why they wake up depleted, heavier, or less driven than the day before. That is why cinnamon becomes so powerful, especially for older men. Cinnamon is one of nature's most effective tools for stabilizing blood sugar, calming insulin, and restoring metabolic balance. But it is not merely a spice. It is a protector. It steps in at the exact moment hormones are most vulnerable, those evening hours when blood sugar rises easily and the body becomes more sensitive to disruption. When cinnamon enters your system before bed, something measurable happens. Glucose levels flatten. Insulin stops spiking. The endocrine system shifts out of crisis mode, and for the first time in a long while, your hormonal pathways remain open through the night instead of collapsing under metabolic pressure. The emotional weight of this realization is often significant. Men assume their lack of motivation, their midday energy crashes, or their fading desire come from aging. When in reality, these are symptoms of a body that has been wrestling with unstable blood sugar for years. Cinnamon doesn't just correct a number, it restores a rhythm. It returns a sense of physiological steadiness to a system that has been overstressed and overworked for far too long. Paired with olive oil at night, cinnamon becomes even more effective. The healthy fats slow absorption, allowing cinnamon's active compounds to work steadily and gently throughout the night. Together, they create a calm internal environment, one that protects testosterone instead of sabotaging it while you sleep. Men who make this part of their nightly ritual often describe waking with surprising clarity. A lighter feeling in the chest, a sense that energy is not being drained the moment the day begins. Some say simply that they feel more like themselves, a phrase that carries far deeper meaning than it appears to. Because when your blood sugar stays balanced, your mind sharpens, your energy stabilizes, your emotions settle, and your body finally begins rebuilding strength instead of managing daily metabolic chaos. Cinnamon gives your testosterone a chance to survive the night. Olive oil gives it the foundation to rise again in the morning. 6. The ingredient that rebuilds the testes. Ginger. Most men never imagined that the very cells responsible for producing their testosterone could be quietly damaged, weakened, and starving for oxygen. Yet this is exactly what happens as men move through their 60s and 70s. The insight that changes everything is this: your testosterone didn't fall because your body forgot how to produce it. It fell because the tiny testosterone-producing cells inside your testes became worn down by years of accumulated stress, inflammation, and restricted circulation. These cells aren't finished. They're exhausted. And once you understand that distinction, everything changes, because exhausted cells can be revived. One of the most powerful tools for reviving them is something most men already have in their kitchen: ginger, What makes ginger extraordinary is not just its centuries-long history in traditional medicine, but the way modern science has confirmed what healers understood long ago. Ginger doesn't force your body to make testosterone the way synthetic boosters attempt to. Instead, it works at the cellular level, addressing the damage that has been accumulating for decades. It reduces oxidative stress inside the testes, clearing away the biochemical burden that slows hormone production. It increases blood flow to these delicate tissues, delivering oxygen and nutrients to areas that have been quietly deprived. And it stimulates the release of luteinizing hormone, the chemical signal from the brain that tells the testes to wake up and produce again. For many men, understanding this feels genuinely emotional, because they finally see that their decline wasn't a failure of willpower or a loss of masculinity. Their bodies weren't giving up. They were wounded. And wounds, with the right support, heal. I've seen men who were convinced they were past their prime, who had accepted that the inner fire was simply gone. Experience mornings filled with clarity, physical confidence, and a quiet sense of strength returning. They describe it as a dim light deep inside that suddenly brightened. Not the fire of youth, but something steadier and perhaps more meaningful, the return of capability. When ginger is combined with olive oil at night, its effects deepen considerably. Ginger's active compounds are fat-soluble, meaning they require healthy fats to be properly absorbed. Olive oil acts as a precision delivery system, carrying ginger's compounds into the bloodstream with far greater efficiency than ginger taken alone. Together, they create a nighttime environment that supports genuine hormonal repair. As you sleep, inflammation recedes, circulation improves, and the cells inside the testes begin functioning the way they were designed to. Men often tell me their mornings feel sharper, their sense of drive begins returning, and something they quietly accepted as lost starts re-emerging. Ginger doesn't force the body to perform. It helps the body remember. And when a man begins to feel that memory awakening, it touches something deeper than physical health. It restores a sense of dignity and identity. 7. The ingredient that recharges your hormone engine. Pumpkin seeds. Most men are surprised when they hear this, but the evidence is clear. Your testosterone may not be low because of declining production. It may be low because your body no longer has the minerals required to make it. Not exotic supplements. Not expensive clinical compounds. Just 2 essential minerals that slowly drain from your system as you age, leaving your hormone engine running on fumes without ever announcing why. Pumpkin seeds, small and unassuming, hold 2 of the most critical minerals for a man over 60, zinc and magnesium. Zinc is effectively the ignition key of testosterone production. Without it, your body cannot complete the biochemical sequence required to synthesize the hormone. Magnesium, on the other hand, is what converts testosterone into its usable, free form, the form that fuels your muscles, your cognition, your metabolism, and your sexual vitality. When either of these minerals is deficient, testosterone suffers. When both are depleted, the hormone system stalls, often without a single warning sign most men would recognize. Many older men don't realize how significantly their zinc and magnesium levels have dropped. Decades of chronic stress, common medications, disrupted sleep, alcohol, and processed foods strip these minerals from the body far faster than they can be replenished. Even men who believe they eat reasonably well are often running deficient. The body becomes underpowered, its internal wiring weakened. A man feels it in ways he doesn't always attribute to mineral depletion. Muscles that don't respond as they should. Motivation that flickers without explanation. brain fog that lingers into the afternoon, emotions that feel flattened or heavy. Beneath all of that lies a single biochemical truth: the hormone engine is starving. When pumpkin seeds enter the picture, the change is both scientific and, in many ways, poetic. These seeds deliver zinc and magnesium in their most natural bioavailable form, minerals the body recognizes and absorbs efficiently. They refill the depleted reserves. They restore the spark. They return energy to systems that have been quietly slowing down. When pumpkin seeds are paired with olive oil at night, the effect becomes even more pronounced. Olive oil's fatty acids and polyphenols enhance the absorption of both minerals, allowing them to reach the bloodstream more efficiently and be utilized more completely. The body can finally use what it has been missing. Men who add this to their nightly ritual often describe waking with a sense of groundedness and steady capability they thought was permanently behind them. It is not a sudden surge. It is a reliable return, like an engine that has been dormant finally turning over smoothly and holding. 8. The ingredient that extinguishes hormonal inflammation, turmeric A&D black pepper. Most men are genuinely surprised to learn that the single greatest force suppressing their testosterone is not age, not declining physical strength, and not even reduced hormone output. It is inflammation, an invisible, chronic fire burning quietly inside the body, day after day, year after year. This internal fire steals more masculine vitality than any other single factor, yet most men never see it coming. It surfaces as stiff joints, mental fog, slower movement, heavier emotions, and mornings that feel harder than they should. But the most significant truth is this: inflammation shuts down your testosterone-producing glands long before you ever feel its most obvious symptoms. Your hormone engine doesn't fail because you're old. It fails because it has been fighting a biochemical fire for decades and has finally begun to exhaust itself. This is why turmeric becomes such a powerful ally for men over 60. Turmeric contains curcumin, one of nature's most potent anti-inflammatory compounds, capable of reaching places in the body that most medications never touch. Curcumin doesn't simply reduce surface-level pain or stiffness. It calms inflammation inside blood vessels, brain tissue, the digestive system, and most critically, inside the hormone centers that regulate testosterone. Men often think of inflammation as merely a physical discomfort. But at its biochemical core, it is a blockade. As long as that fire burns, testosterone cannot rise. As long as the fire burns, the brain cannot send strong, clear hormonal signals. As long as the fire burns, a man moves through life as a dimmed version of himself. But there is a critical detail most people never learn. Curcumin is nearly ineffective without fat. The body cannot absorb it on its own in any meaningful quantity. This is precisely where olive oil transforms turmeric from a common kitchen spice into a genuine hormonal healer. When turmeric is blended with olive oil, the fat binds to curcumin and carries it directly into the bloodstream, allowing it to reach the tissues that need it most. This is why men who have tried turmeric capsules without results often experience significant change when they use it correctly. The body doesn't need more turmeric. It needs turmeric delivered in a form it can actually absorb. And then there is black pepper, a small addition that appears almost incidental until you understand its mechanism. Black pepper contains piperin, a compound that increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. Without piperin, the majority of curcumin passes through the body unused. With piperin, the body can finally access the full anti-inflammatory power that was always there when turmeric, black pepper, and olive oil work together. They begin cooling the internal inflammation that has been suppressing your energy, clouding your thinking, and quietly suffocating your testosterone production for years. Men describe a return of ease in their body, clearer mornings, less physical tension, a sense that their system is no longer working against itself. It is not a sudden transformation. It is a return. And for men who have spent years feeling that they are fighting their own biology, this return means everything. 9. The ingredient that ignites blood flow. Garlic. Most men are stunned by this, but it is a clinical truth that deserves to be stated plainly. You can have adequate testosterone levels and still feel weak, tired, and disconnected, simply because that testosterone never reaches the places it needs to go. Your muscles never receive the signal. Your brain never feels the clarity. Your heart never feels the strength. And the parts of your body responsible for sexual function never receive the oxygen-rich blood they require to respond the way they once did. Without strong circulation, testosterone becomes a trapped resource, present but powerless. And for many men over 60, declining blood flow is the silent thief that has been operating for years without ever announcing itself. This is where garlic enters the conversation, not as a kitchen ingredient, but as one of the most well-studied natural circulatory enhancers in modern science. Garlic contains allicin, a compound released when the clove is crushed, that effectively acts as a key inside your arteries. It relaxes the blood vessel walls, widens the circulatory pathways, and increases the flow of blood to every region of the body. But its significance for masculine health runs deeper than general circulation. Healthy blood flow is what delivers testosterone to your muscles, your brain, your heart, and the intimate parts of your anatomy that depend on oxygen-rich blood to function. Without circulation, testosterone cannot activate its effects. With strong circulation, testosterone becomes something closer to electricity, moving through the body, communicating strength, vitality, and function. I have spoken with countless men who describe a very specific and rarely shared emotional experience. They say things like, "I can't perform the way I used to," or "I don't feel that spark anymore," or simply, "My body doesn't respond." They assume this means their testosterone is gone, that their youth is over, that some essential part of them has faded permanently. But frequently what has diminished is not the hormone itself. It is the circulatory highway that carries that hormone where it is needed. And when circulation declines, a man begins to feel disconnected, not just physically, but at a deeper level. He feels slower, less confident, like a quieter, dimmer version of the man he once was. Garlic begins to reverse this in a way that is both measurably physical and quietly personal. As allicin opens the blood vessels, oxygen flows more freely. Nutrients move with greater efficiency. Hormones finally reach the tissues that have been waiting for them. Men often describe the experience as feeling a current return, a phrase I have heard so many times it has become meaningful to me, because that current isn't simply about physical strength. It's about aliveness, about presence, about feeling like your body belongs to you again. When garlic is combined with olive oil at night, its effects deepen further. Olive oil protects the delicate lining of the blood vessels, reduces vascular inflammation, and improves arterial flexibility. It acts as a carrier, helping allicin move through the bloodstream with greater efficiency. As the two work together during sleep, circulation improves steadily, without overworking the heart, without stimulation, without risk. Men who begin this nightly practice often describe waking feeling lighter in the chest, clearer in the mind, and more aware of an internal strength they thought was permanently behind them. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. 10. The ingredient that commands testosterone production, fenugreek. Most men are genuinely surprised to discover that their body may still be producing testosterone, but quietly losing it to an invisible process inside their own chemistry. It doesn't cause pain. It doesn't announce itself. It simply operates in the background as men age, converting hard-earned testosterone into estrogen, rewiring the hormonal balance that once defined their strength, their drive, and their sense of identity. And the real truth that changes everything is this. For many men over 60, this conversion, not low production, is the primary reason masculinity feels like it's fading. The body isn't failing. It's being biochemically drained by a process most men were never told about. This is where fenugreek becomes one of the most significant allies available to an older man. Fenugreek contains compounds called saponins, particularly a compound known as furostenolic saponin, that directly inhibit the enzyme responsible for converting testosterone into estrogen. When this enzyme operates unchecked, a man can produce substantial amounts of testosterone and still feel weak, foggy, and unmotivated because his hormones are being redirected before he can use them. But when fenugreek enters the system, the conversion slows. The biochemical theft stops. And for the first time in years, the testosterone the body produces stays available. Men who add fenugreek to their nightly olive oil ritual often describe not a sudden jolt, but a returning, a quiet, steady rebuilding of inner power that feels deeply familiar, like reconnecting with a version of themselves they believed was permanently gone. They wake with clearer thinking, more settled energy, a sense of internal brightness they haven't experienced in years. It is not just energy. It is purpose, not just desire, but presence. Fenugreek also does something equally important. While it protects existing testosterone, it simultaneously stimulates the release of luteinizing hormone, the master signal from the brain that instructs the testes to produce more testosterone naturally. This is the same hormonal cue your body followed effortlessly in your 20s and 30s. Over time, chronic stress, systemic inflammation, poor sleep, and accumulated emotional strain weaken that signal until it barely registers. Fenugreek helps restore its strength. It tells the endocrine system that the extended shutdown is over and that rebuilding can begin. This dual action, protecting what already exists while stimulating more production, is why fenugreek is often the missing piece for men who feel like nothing else has made a meaningful difference. Many tell me they begin to feel emotions they haven't experienced in years, genuine enthusiasm for the day ahead, a pull toward physical connection, a grounded sense of being alive in their own body. When fenugreek is paired with olive oil, its bioavailability improves significantly. The healthy fats enhance saponin absorption and stabilize nighttime hormonal activity, allowing fenugreek to operate with greater precision during the hours of sleep when restoration is most active. The result is a comprehensive nighttime hormonal environment, one that protects testosterone, frees it, circulates it, and stimulates more of it simultaneously. Men often describe the cumulative change as a slow sunrise, something warming gradually from within, touching energy, confidence, physical strength, and an emerging sense of self-worth that had quietly dimmed over many years. 11. Conclusion. Reclaiming your power after 60. When a man reaches 60, the world quietly begins telling him that decline is normal, that fatigue is normal, that losing strength is normal, that shrinking desire, shrinking confidence, and shrinking vitality are simply the natural penalties of growing older. But after walking with you through this entire journey, after examining each ingredient, each biological mechanism, and each overlooked pathway your body is still fully capable of using, I want you to understand something more fundamental than any recipe or ritual. Decline is not your destiny. It never was. The lesson beneath everything we've explored is this: your body does not age as quickly as your habits do. Your hormones don't dry up because your cells lose the capacity to function. They slow down because life pulls you out of rhythm. Stress disrupts your chemistry. Inflammation suppresses your signals. Sleep becomes shallow. Blood flow becomes sluggish. Nutrients become scarce. And quietly, steadily, the fire inside you dims, not because you have grown old, but because your system went without the fuel it needed to stay fully alive. Every man deserves to hear this clearly. You were never broken. You were simply undernourished in the ways that mattered most. What olive oil and these nighttime combinations truly represent is not magic, not shortcuts, not tricks. They are reminders. They remind your body how to function, how to build, how to circulate, how to restore, how to rise. They reopen pathways you believed were permanently closed. They reignite processes you assumed had ended with age. They awaken the chemistry of a younger man within the experience of a wiser one. If there is one thing I want you to carry forward long after this video ends, it is this: your body has been waiting for you far more patiently than you ever realized. For decades, you may have blamed yourself for the changes you felt. You may have believed your lack of energy meant you weren't disciplined enough. You may have thought your fading desire meant something essential was lost. You may have assumed your softening strength meant your time had passed. But what you were experiencing was not failure. It was imbalance. It was your body signaling, persistently and quietly, that it needed support, in a form most men were never taught to provide. The real tragedy is not that testosterone falls. It's that men fall silent. They accept things that should never be accepted. They surrender parts of themselves that can still be reclaimed. So the true message of this entire journey comes down to something simple. Your body has not given up on you. Deep inside, your hormone centers still listen. Your cells still respond. Your blood still wants to move freely. Your brain still sends signals asking for more strength, more vitality, more life. And when you provide the right conditions, the fats, the minerals, the anti-inflammatory compounds, the circulatory support, the hormonal protectors, it responds, sometimes faster than you expect, not because you forced it, but because you finally supported it. Every man reaches a point in his later years when he must decide what kind of future he is willing to build. A future shaped by slow decline, or a future defined by intentional rebuilding. A future of surrender, or one of rediscovery. These nightly rituals with olive oil are not merely health practices. They are declarations. They say, I am not done. They say, my best years are not behind me. They say, I choose to rebuild even now. And that decision is far more powerful than any individual ingredient. Testosterone is not merely a hormone. It is your drive, your steadiness, your capacity to face the world with purpose. It is the voice inside you that says, I still have something to offer. When testosterone rises, men don't simply feel stronger. They feel clearer, more grounded, more present. They move through the world with a sense of identity that time tried to blur but could not erase. When you restore that identity, you restore far more than energy or physical performance. You restore the foundation of who you are. So as we close this journey together, I want you to hold the simplest truth of all. Healing begins with one decision, one night, one small ritual, One moment when you say, I will not let this be the end of my story. And once that decision is made, the rest is simply consistency. Small, nightly actions that accumulate into something extraordinary. Your body is waiting. Your strength is waiting. Your clarity is waiting. Your fire is waiting. The question is whether you will answer. Because in the next chapter of your life, your testosterone does not have to fall. Your vitality does not have to fade. Your masculinity does not have to diminish. Everything you thought was gone is still within reach, ready to rise the moment you choose to rise with it. And that is where your transformation truly begins. Before you go, I want to speak to you directly. If this video gave you clarity, hope, or even just a moment of strength you didn't expect today, I ask you to take one small step to help this message reach other men who need it just as much as you did. Hit the like button so this content can find the men searching for answers. Share it with a friend, a brother, or someone you care about who may be struggling in silence. And leave a comment below. Tell me your age, your experience, your challenges. Your words might be exactly what another man needs to hear to know he is not alone. If you want to support the channel and help me continue creating honest, science-based guidance for men over 60, consider leaving a small donation. Every contribution, regardless of size, helps keep this work alive and allows it to reach thousands more who are searching for real answers. Your engagement is not just support. It is how we build a community of stronger, healthier, more empowered men. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your health seriously. And thank you for helping others do the same.